As I welcome you back to the afternoon today, our next Protean Convos explores the evolving world of digital lending and how future-ready onboarding and reporting workflows are transforming the way financial institutions serve customers. With regularity, clarity, automation, and customer expectations all rising together, lenders today are reimagining their processes to be faster, smarter, and fully compliant. Representing our esteemed client, TVS Credit, joining us for this conversation today is Mr. Sainath S., Principal Product Manager. Thank you, Sainath, for being here with us this afternoon. Sainath has been leading digital innovation and lending operations, and he'll be here with us this afternoon to talk us through this topic. Moderating the session and hosting it on behalf of Protean is Mr. Sanjeet Saraf, Vice President, Product Protean, who's been instrumental in shaping digital solutions that power security and trust. So let's get right into it. Over to you, Ranjit.
Thank you, Jovan, for the brief introductions. It's our honor to have you with us today, Sainath. So, as the topic here is basically, we want to the entire digital financial services delivery, and within that specifically the digital lending services. So, right from the journey of customer onboarding, which involves eKYC, identity verification, then it moves on to underwriting and decisioning for his lending. Then it moves on to contracting, e-signing, and finally onboarding of the customer. And then it culminates into the regulatory reporting. So from an industry leader perspective into the lending services, I believe at TVS Credit you guys excel into vehicle lending and personal loan as well. So I would like to understand your experience across all these stages of typical customer onboarding life cycle, and what has your experience been, and larger at an industry level, what is the industry looking at in the digitization of these services?
Sure. Thanks, Ranjit, for having us TVS Credit here. For us in TVS Credit, I think the primary focus has always been in terms of how do we make the customer journey simple, transparent, but at the same time, in terms of from a regulatory intent, are we kind of there? So I think right from the onboarding stage, I think today we have a lot of partners like Protean who have kind of enabled us from APIs, etc., which makes the journey way more simpler. We are focused in terms of trying to see how simple and transparent we can keep it for us, and the regulator has also kind of been helping us across this entire thing in terms of making it better in terms of, let's say, the consent. How do we share the consent with the get the consent from the customers, make it more transparent for them, including things like the KFS, etc. have really been a push towards that.
Okay. So typically when you look at an KYC verification or customer verification leg, so what has been your experience, as in from the existing physical verification of Aadhaar proof to digital multimodal verification of Aadhaar? So how has been the journey for you, or rather how the industry has matured in using various multimodal eKYC methods?
I think we have evolved a lot over the last few years from something which is physical, which is takes a lot of manual intervention to kind of verify it. We have moved the entire India stack, which includes the DigiLocker, the UIDAS-based, face-based KYC, biometric-based KYC. These have been a real big push in terms of making this entire process much more seamless, makes it easier for verification, and almost completely eliminates the human intervention. And I think we are progressing faster than what we would have also expected there, and that's helping us to make the entire journey much more seamless. Our customers today don't need to bring documents. It's just with a simple face-based authentication or biometric, they kind of do it. I think that push also gives a lot of trust in the customer, saying that we are doing it with the consent, at the same time a verifiable data.
Okay. And then moving on in the next phase of the journey, this is where basically you would do verification of other credentials other than Aadhaar, and then you would do the underwriting bit for him. So what has your experience or the industry's direction been on this? How are they carrying on this phase of the lending journey?
Again, here I think various initiatives by the government, like let's say the account aggregator, and even I think in terms of CKYC bureau, all of these are things that are helping us with data. Again, data with consent, which is kind of putting everything into perspective for us to say how best we can use the data responsibly to kind of underwrite the customer. And I think it's not just from underwriting, this is also helping us way more in terms of later, in terms of, let's say, collections, etc., to know when and how to kind of reach out to the customer in a very responsible way.
So when you say it has given you to enable the collections phase, so can you just elaborate a little bit on that, how you are possibly leveraging or how the industry is leveraging account aggregator for the post credit monitoring phase?
So I think from an industry perspective, where everyone is really looking for it and started doing towards is knowing when to reach out to the customer. When does the customer have the right cash flows? When can I actually reach out to him in a responsible way so that I can kind of collect? Because every bounce is also pain for him.
Correct.
How do we avoid that bounce and kind of reach out to him at the right point in time when he has the right cash flows? That makes it easier for us as a lender, and also in terms of the borrower, kind of makes it much more easier.
Okay. So once this underwriting phase is done, obviously you enter into the contracting phase, where you would enter into in the earlier Aadhaar it would be a paperwork where agreements are done, stamp papers are attached. So what has your experience again been on this leg, where from a true end-to-end digital journey perspective, this is one major paper-based journey, which now is becoming digital. So how have you embraced it, or how has industry accepted it?
I think one, yes, the industry has always wanted to move digital, but even if you look from a regulatory perspective, right? Even the recent thing about the KFS, they made it very easier for the customer to understand the entire process, give a consent, and the consent they have again been very flexible, saying how you can take the consent.
Okay.
So it makes the entire digital process that much more easier, rather than being rigid in terms of it should be only in this particular format, etc. So driven by the regulator and also most of the industry wanting to move digital, I think we are moving very fast in that direction.
Okay. And considering that most of the lending happens in tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, different strata of the society, so in certain tier 2, tier 3 segments, the industry needs assisted modes, and maybe in the tier 1, it's a completely digital self-care journey. So how is the bifurcation in that? Because even at the end, as a lending service provider, you have to power your services for all the strata. So what has been the experience on that?
I think from two perspectives, one, including tier 2, tier 3, we see a lot of adoption towards digital. That's surely moving. But between assisted and DIY, I think the only difference is we are still digital. It's the assisted person doing the digital journey versus the customer doing himself. Otherwise, I think most of the digital lending process today are completely being end-to-end digital, and we rarely have something which is a physical form. So I think customers can walk in freely, do the entire KYC, do the onboarding journey, and get a loan in a few minutes just by kind of with this digital
So
process.
any idea on what's the benchmark end-to-end processing time that's prevalent in the industry for such a loan journey?
I think that would depend product to product. However, I think one thing for sure is everyone in the industry is moving from days to probably minutes, if not hours. And the entire automation, which again is powered by a lot of fintechs, including Protean, is really helping us to go literally in minutes. I think some of the loans that we do are less than 3-4 clicks, or let's say we can do it in 10 minutes kind of a period.
Okay. And do you see an active involvement of AI components and AI technology in enablement of these journeys, or has the industry identified certain pain points which can be solved with help of AI?
Uh, yes, I think from an AI perspective, what the focus has been also largely from the industry is to first use it in terms of not directly customer facing, but to use the tools to kind of make the customer's life easier. It could be in terms of the entire coding itself, or in terms of product, etc. Direct customer facing is something I think which will take a little more time to evolve, given that the customer needs more clarity and there can't be non-judgmental.
Okay. So then finally, now that the customer has been onboarded and digital paperwork contracting has been completed, while you onboard him onto your core systems for service continuity and say disbursement of the loan, and then following the post lending credit monitoring cycle, how about the regulatory reporting aspect, and how has that been an enabler, a bottleneck, or how has technology help you overcome that mandatory reporting phases?
I think there is a lot of structure and auditability that is again coming as a clarity from the regulator themselves. They're very clear, very prescriptive also at the same time, where they are kind of taking the feedback from the industry and kind of giving that. So that is helping everyone to kind of report in a much more seamless manner, including things like, let's say, the CKYC, etc. The reporting becomes much more seamless because the structure is very clearly defined by the regulator, and it's also evolving in the right direction. So I think that's helping.
But the only challenge I feel the industry has been facing, data that exists in these central databases, how much can you rely on that? And how much you need to refresh that data?
Again, I think it's a evolving thing. Probably we're not fully there, but the regulators push to have everyone use more of it will make the data more better. With more data going in a more streamlined, structured manner, that should help us to get better over the period of time.
Super. And any other regulatory challenges that you feel need to be addressed by technology players like us, which could help shave off some incremental seconds or minutes from the journey? Where is the industry heading now? Because we all need insights from the industry to make our solutions next level and cater you.
I think, at least my perspective, more than the industry today, the partners are co-creating the solutions along with the regulator. Something that is really helping move forward. Today, I think the partners are leading that forward, that entire journey where they are innovating, bringing things to the table, and along with the industry, we are able to go to the regulator, let's say something like a sandbox, etc., and kind of get the regulators nod. So co-creation probably is the right way to do it, and I think we are already doing that.
So there are many instances of the financial service regulators setting up their own innovation sandboxes. RBI has their FinTech sandbox, and IRDAI also has a sandbox. So are the lenders and the financial service providers actively partnering with these TSPs and trying to position some concepts in this?
For sure, I think that's surely happening. In fact, the regulator is also being very proactive in terms of responding and trying to guide us in terms of how to do it. I think that's surely something that we see.
Super. So it was really insightful to understand the end-to-end journey and how the TSP community is enabling leading financial services providers like you and the industry. So we would love to engage more on this, but in the interest of time, I would like to conclude this session. Thanks for sharing your point of view with us, Sainath.
Thanks, Ranjan.
It was great having you. So I would just hand over a memento to you. This is on behalf of Protean. Thanks for having us. Please, this quote, sir.